Gemara on Daf Pei Gimel Amud Aleph, where it says Meisvei, about 7-8 lines from the top. The Gemara here is going to ask a question on the interpretation of Rabbe in the Machlokes of Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan. So let me review quickly what we learned yesterday. There's a Machlokes regarding the Tumah of Avodah Zarah. To what extent does that Tumah go? So in the simple Braisa it says it is a Machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva whether we compare the Tumah of Avodah Zarah to a Sheretz, or we compare the Tumah of Avodah Zarah to Tumas Meis. To Nida, that is. Whether we compare it to Nida. So, the Gemara here brought the Machlokes between Rabbe and Rabbi Laza, how to understand this Machlokes. According to Rabbe, the Pshat on the Machlokes is, everybody agrees that Tumas Masa, which says specifically by Nida, applies to Avodah Zarah as well. The only question is whether the additional tumah of an even mesama, a heavy rock, if you place something on a heavy rock and the other things that are below it, whether they become tamei, that additional tumah is what the machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva is about. On the other hand, Rabbi Laza says, like the simple pshat of the Braisa, or it's a Mishnah actually, the simple pshat of the Mishnah, that the machlokes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva is whether tumas masa, the tumah of carrying, which is only by nida, and not by a sheretz, does it apply to the takana of tumah b'avodah zarah? Do we compare it to sheretz like the Rabbanan say and it does not apply, or do we compare it to nida and it does apply? So let's see now the Gemara inside. Meisvei, the Gemara asks the Shaila on Rabbi's opinion. Avodah zarah kisheretz. It says in the Braisa, this same machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Akiva. Tanakama says that Avodah zarah is compared to a sheretz. Umisham sheha kisheretz. The other items that serve the Avodah Zarah are also compared to a sheretz. Rabbi Akiva says, no, Avodah Zarah is kinida. Avodah Zarah is compared to a nida. Umisham sheha kisheretz. The item serving the Avodah Zarah is compared to a sheretz. So now the Gemara asks, according to Rabbi Laza, we could understand the pshat in this Braisa simply. Tanakama says we compare to sheretz, and the tumah of masa, of carrying, does not apply. And Rabbi Akiva says we compare to nida, and the tumah of carrying does apply. Exactly the way Rabbi Laza interpreted their argument. But according to Rabbi, Kashya, there's a question here. What's the pshat in this Braisa that Rabbi Akiva says we compare to nida, and the Tanakama says we compare to sheretz, which seems like there's no tumah of carrying. Amalach Rabbi, so Rabbi answers, Mi alima mi masnisen? Is this Braisa any more of a proof to how to interpret their machlokes than the Mishnah itself that we quoted before? The Ketani, and over there in the Mishnah, what did it say? Eitzav, Avanav, Afarav, Metamin, Kesheretz. That the Tanakama says that the wood, the stones, and the earth of Avodah Zarah will make you tamei only like a sheretz. Ve'oi kimna. And Rabbi explained pshat in that Mishnah, Mai Kesheretz, regarding what are we comparing it to sheretz? Not 100%. It's not 100% like a sheretz, that there's no tumas masa at all. Rather, the lemitame be'evim mesame. Just to teach me that I don't fully compare it to a nida, which becomes tamei even with this heavy rock, but it's compared partially to sheretz. So just like there, in the Mishnah that we learned in the previous daf, the pshat in what the Mishnah says, that we compare it to sheretz, in the Tanakama's opinion, is to say that it's not metame bevim mesame, but we're not comparing it 100%, there is still tumas masa. So we can say the same thing here. Hachanami, here as well, the pshat in this braisa, the metame be'evin mesame. When the Tanakama says that we compare the tumah of Avodah Zarah to sheretz, it's only regarding the fact that it does not become tamei be'evin mesame with this heavy rock. Meisvei, the Gemara brings another braisa, nochri unochris, Avodah Zarah umisham sheha. So a guy or a male or a female Avodah Zarah, and the item serving Avodah Zarah, hein v'lo yaseitan. They are metame, but not if you carry them. That's the Tanakama, the Rabban's opinion. Rabbi Akiva says all of these, hein v'haseitan, they will make you tamei, and when you carry them. So here again we see this machlokes. It seems pretty clear from the lashon of the Braisa that the argument is whether the hesed, whether carrying causes tumah or not. According to Rabbi Lazar, that says that this is what the Tana Kama and Rabbi Kiva argue about, whether there's a tumah of masa, or as the Braisa here calls it, a tumah of hesed, whether that applies to Avodah Zarah. So niche, this is exactly what it says in this Braisa. But according to Rabbi, that says that everybody agrees that there is tumas hesed regarding Avodah Zarah. They're only arguing about this additional tumah of Evan Mesama, whether it applies to Avodah Zarah or not, kashya. So the words of this Braisa are a question. Amalach Rabbe, so Rabbe responds and says, wait a minute, let's take a look on this Braisa. And according to the way you're interpreting this Braisa, according to Rabbi Lazar, Nachri v'nachris nami hein v'loya seitan. Is this Braisa accurate in saying that a Nachri or a Nachris, a goy, a male or a female, so only they will cause tumah, but they will not cause tumah if they are carried? But is that true? V'hatanya, what we learned in a Braisa, or if they carry something, or if they are carried actually. Yeah, that's what Hesed over here means, if they are carried. So the Gemara here brings a Braisa that teaches us that by a goy, the Chachamim made a gzeira that a goy should be tomei like a zav. Every goy should have that kind of a tumah. So it says here Nochri and Nochris. So they should have the tumah of Hesed, which is the tumah that it says by a zav, by a nida. Tanya, so we learned in Abraisa, only by Yidden is there a tumah of ziva when there's an emission of the body. It causes them to become tameh, but this tumah of ziva does not apply to goyim. Aval gozru alei, and however the chachamim were geyser, sheyiu kezavin l'chol devreyan, that all goyim should be treated like zavin for everything. In order to keep Yidden to have a certain distance from goyim, so they created this gzeira that they should be kezavin l'chol devreyan. So if that's the case, so then something is not accurate here with the way the Braisa is written, that by a nochri and nochris hein v'loya seitan, that they would cause tumah, but not if you carry them. But why not? Chacham were geyser, they should be just like a zav where there is a tumah of hesed. So therefore, we're going to have to amend this Braisa, and the Gemara will explain how we learn this Braisa, both according to Rabbe's opinion and according to Rabbi Lozer's opinion. Rabbe explains the machlokes here in this Braisa between the Tana Kama and Rav Akiva as follows: Nochri v'nochris hein v'heseitan. A guy, male or female, they cause tumah, and the tumah of hesed, if they're carried, applies to them as well. The Evan Mesame Shalehen, and a Evan Mesame, this additional tumah when you place something on a heavy rock. Avodah Zarah, when it comes to the actual Avodah Zarah itself, he vehaseita. So the tumah applies both for, let me go back a second, I'm sorry. Nochri u'nochris, let's read this again. Nochri and nochris, hein veheseiton ve'evan mesama shalehen. That's read together. So the nochri and the nochris, the tumah applies to they cause tumah, they're carrying, if you carry them it causes tumah, and evan mesama shalehen, this additional tumah of this heavy rock is also included in the tumah that chachamim were geyser on them. They are completely compared to a zav and a nida. Avodah Zarah, on the other hand, when it comes to Avodah Zarah, he veheseita, according to the Tana Kama, only it causes tumah. If you carry it, it causes tumah. Whether you touch it again, or if you carry it, it causes tumah. Avaloi even mesama shalom. But this additional tumah of even mesama does not apply. Rabbi Kiva argues and says, Avodah Zarah, he veheseita. By Avodah Zarah, it causes tumah if you touch it. If you carry it, it causes tumah. Ve'evan mesama shalom. And we fully compare it to nida, that even this additional tumah of evan mesama also applies. So this is Rabbe's interpretation, as we said before, that the machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Kiva is only regarding this additional tumah of Evan Mesama. The tumah of Masa definitely applies both according to the Tana Kama and according to Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Lazar says and reads and amends the Braisa according to his opinion. Nochri of Nochris, a guy, whether male or female, hein, ve'aseitan, ve'evan mesama shalahen. The full tumah applies. They're completely, the chachamim made a gzeira, they should be completely compared to nida, both regarding if you touch them, or carry, or even evan mesama. Avodah Zarah, now the Tana Kama holds that the tumah of Avodah Zarah is he only if you touch it, but v'lo yaseita, not if you carry it. Rabbi Kiva says, Avodah Zarah, Hive Seita. By Avodah Zarah, the Tumah applies both if you touch it or if you carry it. So here in this interpretation, the machlekes between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Kiva is regarding the Tumah of carrying, whether that applies to Avodah Zarah or not. Ask if Rav Ashi, now Rav Ashi has a question on the way we are teaching this Braise. According to both interpretations here, there's a problem, he says, with one word in this Braise. My hein. Why does it say in this Braise hein? That they cause Tumah. If it says Haseiton, that if you carry them it causes Tumah, for sure we understand that if you touch them themselves it causes Tumah. Why does the Braise have to use that word hein? Rav Ashi, so therefore Rav Ashi says, with this word hein, we could see that there's another detail over here. And the basis of Rav Ashi's answer, as we'll see, is that besides the fact that there's a tumah by a zav, if you carry the zav, there's also a tumah by if a zav carries something else. It goes both ways. Whether you carry the zav or whether the zav carries something else, that's the additional tumah that this Braise is talking about over here. And that's what Rav Ashi is going to explain. Let's see. Elam Rav Ashi, so rather Rav Ashi says, Hachi Kamar, this is the pshat in this Braise. Nachri ul nachris, a guy, whether male or female, bein hein shehisitu es acherim. So when it says hein refers to the fact that they carry others. And that's the tumah of Hesed that it's talking about over here, that they carry others. Uvein acherim shehisitu aisan, or whether others that carry them. Tmeim, in both cases, will be tameh. Because, as we said before, the takana, the gzeira of the Chazal was to totally compare a guy, whether male or female, to a nida, to zav, that they have the full tumah, whether they carry or someone carries them. Avodah Zarah, when it comes to Avodah Zarah, she'isita acherim tahirim. If they carry other items, then it's tahir. Acherim she'isitu aisam tmeim. But if they carry other items, then it will become tameh. Misham sheha, the items that serve Avodah Zarah, bein hein sheisitu es acherim, bein acherim sheisitu aisan, whether they carried something else or something else carried it, tahirim, in both cases it will be tahir. Rabbi Kiva says, nachri v'nachris, a guy, a male or female, v'Avodah Zarah, and also Avodah Zarah as well, bein hein sheisitu es acherim, whether they carried others, uvein acherim sheisitu aisan, whether others carried them, tameim, they will be tameh. Misham sheha, it's only by the items that serve the Avodah Zarah. Here we say that it's tahir. Bein hein sheisitu acherim, bein acherim sheisitu aisan, whether they carried other things or others carried them, tahirin, it will be tahir. So the interpretation that Rav Ashi over here says, his main addition is this new tumah that we're saying of zav that applies to Avodah Zarah and applies to Anachri and Nachris as well, in a case where Avodah Zarah is carrying something else. The way the Gemara interprets over here, the Braise according to Rav Ashi, is following Rabba's opinion. As Rashi over here says, that you can interpret the Braise the way Rabbi Lazar explained it before, that the machlekes between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Kiva is regarding whether the tumah of carrying of Avodah Zarah carrying Avodah Zarah applies here. But the Gemara doesn't spell it out that way, but the same thing could be spelled out here according to the opinion of Rabbi Lazar. The main addition of Rav Ashi is regarding this additional tumah that he brings up here if Avodah Zarah carries something else. So the Gemara asks on this, Avodah Zarah, so now when it comes to the tumah of Avodah Zarah, a case of a person carrying of Avodah Zarah is obviously possible. A person carries an Avodah Zarah, so he'll become tameh. But an Avodah Zarah, which is a daimim, and carries something else, how is it possible an Avodah Zarah, being an inanimate object, is able to carry something and cause tumah? So Rami Bereder Rav Yeva answers, Kiditnan. This is like what it says in a Mishnah. We have the following case. You have a scale that has two plates, like the scales were in those times. You measure them to see which there's one plate against the other. Hazav bekaf miznayim. If you have a zav that is in one plate of the scale, va'eichlum umashkin bekaf shnia, and you have foods, a drink that is in the other plate of the scale, kara hazav. If the zav, this plate of the zav is heavier and weighs down, Tamein, so then the food will be tamei, because the zav is causing to lift up and to sort of carry the food in the other plate, and therefore he's carrying it, and that becomes tummy. So here we see, this is the source of how we could see the concept that same would apply to Avodah Zarah, that Avodah Zarah carries something. The Avodah Zarah obviously is a daimon, it can't physically carry, but if you place Avodah Zarah in one plate of the scale, and there's something else in another plate of the scale, and the Avodah Zarah is heavier and weighs it down and lifts the other plate up, so the Avodah Zarah is lifting up the weight of what's on the other plate. That's when the Tumah will apply. The Gemara continues, or it's actually part of that Mishnah, Karo Hain to Hayrin. If on the other way around, what happened was the food was heavier and lifted up the zav, so then it will be tohir. So as Rashi here explains, even though l'chayre, the halacha should have been that if the food is carrying the zav, it's lifting up the zav because the food is heavier than the zav, so then it should be tummy as well, as we just learned. When it comes to the tumah of zav, whether the zav carries the item or whether the item carries the zav, should be tummy. So why doesn't that apply over here? So Rashi explains that the food is not designated for carrying the zav. It's not designated for that. And therefore, it's like we have many times regarding any object which is not designated for something, the tumah of medris, the tumah of the zav does not apply. So over here as well, the tumah of the zav does not apply in this case when the food, which is not designated for carrying the zav, is weighing down and lifting up the zav. According to who will go this that we learned in a Braise, all things that are tamei, that cause tamei, if they carry something, it's tahir. Besides, by the case of a zav, this is a specific halacha, a specific chiddush by a zav, that if he carries, then it'll cause tamei. And then the Braise says, we don't find another example for this in Kol HaTeirah Kula. It's only by a zav. Leime, shall we say, the Leika Rabbi Akiva. This does not follow Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Because if according to Rabbi Akiva, Ikenami Avodah Zarah, Rabbi Akiva says we compare the Tumah of Avodah Zarah to the Tumah of a Nida and a Zav, and therefore we can't say that it's only Tumah of Zav. Answers the Gemara, Afilu Teimer Rabbi Akiva. Yes, it could follow Rabbi Akiva. Tana Zav v'chol dedomile. When the Braise here says Zav, it means Zav, and whatever falls into the broader category of a Zav, as we see in the pasuk that the Torah compares Avodah Zarah to Zav, and Chacham will misakim because of that, to make Avodah Zarah Tomei like a Zav, so that's included in it. The Braise is not excluding Avodah Zarah, so it could follow Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Now the Gemara brings up the actual shaila that was brought up a couple of times before regarding parts of an Avodah Zarah. Boy, Rav Chami bar Goria asked the question: Avodah Zarah yeshna leivarim or ena leivarim? The tumah of Avodah Zarah applies to the limbs of Avodah Zarah, in other words, parts that have been dismantled from a full keli of Avodah Zarah, or not. Now the Gemara explains when this question applies. Hey, in a case that a simple individual could return the parts of the kalian and put them back together, so then leiti bayalach. That's not a question. Definitely, even though it's dismantled, it's considered to be part of the Avodah Zarah and it's tamei. The command, the mechaber is dami. Even while it's dismantled, it's as if it's attached. Kita bayalach. When is the question? If a simple individual will not be able to return it, you're going to have a professional to be able to put it back together. What will be the halacha then? Shall we say that since a hedyot cannot return it together, so therefore it's as if it's a broken Avodah Zarah and the tumah does not apply? Or perhaps we should say there's nothing lacking in the actual Avodah Zarah. It just has to eventually could be put back together, and therefore it's not broken. There's nothing actually lacking over here, and therefore the tumah would still apply. There are others that said no. The shaila of Rav Chama bar Goria applies differently. In a case that a simple person cannot put it back together, then there's no question. The command of misperedami, since a normal person will not be able to put it back together, it's like it's been broken. There's no tumah applies. When is the question? when a simple person could put it back together. What would be the din then? Kivin the hadiyat yochelach zira, since any person could put it back together, keman the mechabre dami, it's as if it's already attached now. Or perhaps hashta mia kasholfa v'sharya. At this point, though, it's been dismantled and it's pulled out, and therefore now it's not yet put back together, and therefore the tumah of avodah zarah does not apply. Teiku, the Gemara does not resolve this question. We had already before the Gemara that this question is only according to Rabbi Akiva, but according to the Rabbanon, this question doesn't apply, as we saw already before. Or according to Rabbi Lazar as well, the Kulam, this question doesn't apply. Sagt the Gemara weiter, boy, Rav Achtavoi bar Ami. Rav Achtavoi bar Ami asked the question, Avodah zarah pchusa mekazayis. A piece of avodah zarah smaller than a kazayis. Mahu, what's the halacha? Maskefla Rav Yosef. Now Rav Yosef asked the question. He wanted to understand, what was he asking about here? Lamai, regarding what are you wondering, the halacha, what the halacha would be regarding an avodah zarah less than a kazayis. If you're going to say the question over here was regarding a isser, regarding the actual isser of avodah zarah, whether the isser hana of avodah zarah applies, as we know, anything that's avodah zarah, there's an isser to have any hana of it, any benefit of it. If that's your question, why not? This is certainly even smaller than a kazayis, it should apply. Lo yehei el zvuv bal akrain. There should be no different than zvuv bal akrain, which is a name of avodah zarah. The Tanya we learned in Abraise, vayasimu bal bris lelekhim zeh zvuv bal akrain. So this bal bris, they appointed it as a god, and this is the avodah zarah called zvuv bal akrain, which was a very small avodah zarah that they served. Like a zvuv, some say, was in the shape of a fly. Melamed shekol echad ve'echad asad mus yirasai. Everybody had a little form of his god, and would place it into his pocket. And he remembers it. He would take it out of his pocket and would hug it and kiss it. So we see here that there was an avodah zarah that they served that was tiny like a fly. So the isra of avodah zarah certainly applies even to something that's very small. Ella rather, says the Gemara, le'inyan tumah. The question that was asked regarding avodah zarah smaller than a kazayis was regarding the tumah of avodah zarah. What would be the din? Kiv in this kishlesheret, since as we had before in the pasuk, shaketz to shaktzenu. So avodah zarah is compared to sheretz. Sheretz bekadasha, just as in the case of a sheretz, as we had a couple of times already. The minimum amount for the tumah of sheretz is the size of an adasha, the size of a lentil. Avodah zarah nami bechadasha. Avodah zarah should also be the size of an adasha, right, which is actually smaller than a kazayas. So then the tumah of avodah zarah should apply. Or perhaps ha'iskish lemeis. We compare avodah zarah to the tumah of meis, as the Gemara will soon bring a pasuk for this. Ma meis b'chazayis, just as we learned many times, the tumah of a meis is only in the minimum size of a kazayis. Af avodah zarah b'chazayis. So too the minimum shear of the tumah of avodah zarah is only by a kazayis. That's the question. So, Marav Ivya Vitei Rabba Barule. So he answered as follows: Toshemat says in Abraisa the Tanya, avodah zarah pchusa mekazayis, avodah zarah that's smaller than a kazayis, ein ba tumah kol iker. The tumah of avodah zarah the Chachamim were masakin does not apply. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Vayashlech es afra kever b'nei ha'om. He threw its earth to the kever of b'nei ha'om. This is a pasuk that talks about avodah zarah. Ma meis b'chizayis, so therefore we compare it to a kever, to a mace. Just like by a mace, the tumah is only by the size of a kizayis. Af avodah zarah b'chizayis. The minimum size for the tumah to apply is a kizayis. Okay, so now the Gemara returns to the general idea here that we had in this whole sugya, that according to the Rabbanon, and this is according to Rabbi Lazar, according to the interpretation of Rabbi Lazar before in the Gemara on Daf Pei Beis, so we find it comes out at the end of the day, we find avodah zarah being compared to three different things. Avodah zarah is compared to a sheretz, it's compared to nida, and it's compared now we see to tumas meis. So what's the pshat in this? V'Rabbanon, lamai hilchase iskish l'sheretz. For what purpose for what halacha are we comparing avodah zarah, the tumah of avodah zarah, to sheretz? The answer is the leimetama b'masa, to teach me a leniency that the tumah of carrying does not apply. Lenida. Why are we comparing the tumah of Avodah Zarah to a nida? To teach me a leniency. The eina le'evarim. That the tumah of evarim does not apply. The tumah of parts does not apply, just like by a nida, that the tumah of one aver, it doesn't cause a tumah. Lemeis. Well, for what point are we comparing the tumah of Avodah Zarah to the tumah of a mace? That there's no tumah if it's smaller than an adasha. There's no tumah by an adasha, that is. It has to be the size of a kezayis. Asks the Gemara the question, why not say that we compare it to these three to be more stringent? Not to be lenient. It comes out that each one of these things that we're comparing to them is leniencies. Maybe it should be l'chumra. Lamai is lamai ilchasa aksharach mana l'sheretz. And I would say as follows: for what reason does the Torah compare the tumah of Avodah Zarah to a sheretz? L'tamoy b'chad asha, to actually apply the tumah in a case of adasha, smaller than a kazayis. L'nida, the comparison to nida would also be to be chumra, stringent. Tamuya bevim mesamet, to say that the tumah goes so far that we totally compare it to a nida, that the tumah should apply even for this additional tumah of evim mesamet, that heavy rock. Aksharach mana lemeis, and the Torah compares it to a mace, l'tamuya ba'oil, to apply the tumah of a oil, anything that's under the roof, under the tent, the tumah of mace affects it. So maybe we should apply that the same tumah of oil applies to Avodah Zarah as well. So how do we know that to compare all these things only l'kula and not l'chumra? Answers the Gemara, tumas Avodah Zarah d'Rabbanan. The tumah of Avodah Zarah is only d'Rabbanan. The kula, the chumra, you have an option of comparing the tumah of Avodah Zarah to these three, whether l'kula or l'chumra. L'kula makshinan, l'chumra lo makshinan. Being only a tumah d'Rabbanan, the comparison is only for a leniency and not for a stringency. Perhaps this is connected to the point that we learned in the Sikha, mentioned it yesterday, that Rebbe says that the tumah of Avodah Zarah is not only a tumah midrabanan, but it's a specific kind of a tumah that only relates to the gavra, that the person, Chachama wanted the person to stay away from the Avodah Zarah. It's not a tumah similar to other tumahs and other isurim that's primarily focused on the cheftze, that the chayfetz itself has tumah and so on. So therefore, over here, this is a kind of takana midrabanan that is rabbinic in nature, that relates only to the gavra, and therefore they were more lenient. Zog the Mishnah, another halacha regarding tumah. We know that this boat does not have tumah, does not cause any tumah. So what's the reason for this? Minayin l'sfina shehitayra. From where do I know that a boat is tahir? Shenemar derech haniya belev yam. The way of a boat is in the middle of the yam, of the ocean. That's the source. So the Gemara will explain the source. What's the pshat in this limud right now? Pshit, what the pasuk says is obvious. Aniya belev yami. The boat is in the middle of the water. What is the pasuk teaching me? Ha kamash malon. So this is what the pasuk is teaching me. Kiyam, that we compare the boat to the water. Ma yam tahir, just like the water itself is tahir. Av sfina tahira. So too the boat is tahir. That's the comparison of the pasuk, and that is the pshat in the Mishnah here. Tanya, we learned a different opinion in Abraisa regarding the reason why a boat is tahir. Chananya says, Nilmeda misak. We compare a boat to a sack cloth. You look in the pasuk, when it talks about the tumah of a sheretz, it includes there in the pasuk a sack cloth, or a kli eitz, a wooden keli, that the two are compared. And the Gemara will now explain regarding what the comparison is relevant. And from here we learn that the boat will be tahir. What's the comparison to sack? Ma sack metaltal male vereikon, just as in a case of a sack. It could be it's a movable item, and it could be used empty or full. It's light enough to be used that even when it's full, you can move it around. Af kol, so too anything that would become tamei metaltal male vereikon. It's only in a case when it's moved full or empty. If it can't be moved full or empty, it does not apply. So therefore, la fuke sfina, this excludes a boat. The ena metaltalis male vereikon. It's too heavy. It cannot be moved when it's full, when it's loaded. So therefore, that's the source of the fact that a boat is not tamei. not the pasuk before that we compare it to the yam, just like the yam itself is not mekabel tumah, so too the boat is not mekabel tumah. So we have two different sources over here to the fact that the boat is not mekabel tumah. What is the difference between the source of the Tana of our Mishnah and the source that Hananya brings? Says the Gemara, two things. The first thing is that there's a difference between them. Sfina shel cheres, a boat from earthenware. The Mishnah that says that we compare the boat to the ocean, to the water in the ocean. Hanami belev yami. This boat that is in the ocean and compared to the water in the ocean as well. And therefore it's not going to be Mekabel Tumah. Laman dama kesak, the one that says that I compare the boat to a sack that has to be carried empty and full, and therefore it's not Mekabel Tumah. Hanoch, tichsivi gabe sack, those things mentioned in the pasuk together with a sack, the metaltalus mali reikon in, if it's moved full and empty, it's susceptible to tumah. Eloi, but if it's too heavy and it can't be moved, it's not susceptible to tumah. Aval sfina shel cheres, but a boat made of earthenware, which is not mentioned there in the pasuk, together with a sack, even if it's too heavy and it can't be moved full or empty, it would be tummy. So therefore, according to Hananya, we're only talking about a wooden boat that's mentioned there in the pasuk, but not a boat made of earthenware. Inami, another difference between the Tana of the Mishnah and Hananya. Sfinas hayarden, a smaller boat that can fit into the Yarden, which was a very small river, and therefore it's a small boat. According to the opinion that says that we compare a boat to the water, so this is also a boat that goes into the water. According to Hananya, however, that the point over here is that the boat is not tomei because it has to be something that can be moved full or empty. This boat is small enough that you have the ability to move it whether full or empty. The Amar Chanina ben Akavya said, Mipnei ma amru sfinas hayarden tmeya. Why was it said that the boat that goes into the Yarden is susceptible to tumah? It's loaded while it's on dry land. And that is, and then they bring it into the water. So we see that this boat is small enough to be able to be used full and empty. So therefore, in this case, according to Hananya, it would be susceptible to tumah. Rav Yudah said, a person should never hold himself back of coming to Beis HaMedrash, even for one moment, even for one opportunity, he has to come to Shul. Shaharei kama shonim nishnis Mishnah Zube Beis HaMedrash. Many years this Mishnah was taught in the Beis HaMedrash. This Mishnah over here regarding Sfinas HaYarden, the halacha of a Sfinas HaYarden, that it's tomei. And v'linizgala taima, and we didn't know what the reason is. What's different about this Sfinas HaYarden, the boat in the Yarden, than any other boat? Ad shebar Rab Chanina ben Akavya upirsha, until Chanina ben Akavya came and explained that the boat is small enough to be able to be moved full or empty, and therefore it's not tummy. So we see here that a person should never miss out. A person should never miss out a shir in Beis Medrash that he could hear a pshat in the Mishnah in this case. Rabbi Yonason says, a person should never hold himself back of coming to the Beis HaMedrash or of learning Torah, even when he's mamish at the end of the last moments of his life. As the pasuk says, this is the Torah, a person that dies in a tent. So the Gemara dashins, afile b'shas misa, even the last moments of a person's life, tehei oisik b'Torah, you should still continue occupying yourself with learning Torah. Reish Lakish darshan this pasuk differently. We learned this in the Gemara in Brachis. Ein divrei Torah miskaimin, the words of Torah will not remain with the person, ela b'mi shemei misatzmei aleh, only with a person that kills himself for the words of Torah. Shenemar, as we see here, we darshan of this pasuk, Zaysat Torah, Adam ki yamas bayal. This Torah will last and be with a person if he's yamos, if he kills himself for the Torah. So the simple pshat, as the Marsha explains this, is it refers to a person that kills all of his other indulgences in the worldly pleasures or whatever else it may be in order to be fully dedicated to Torah. Very appropriate that we're learning this Erev Shavuos, Erev Matan Torah, that to be able to accept the Torah, it demands the full dedication of Nasiv and Nishma, the full ultimate bittul, self-nullification, that a person should be completely bottled to the Torah that he learns. Let's learn the Gemara a little bit weiter, since we're not going to be able to have the shir for the next 2 days. So we're going to learn a little bit more on Daf Pei Dalet. Omar Rave said as follows. Going back to the opinion of Hananya, that said that the boat, that it could be moved full or empty, so therefore it is susceptible to tumah, like the boat that's used in the Yarden. Tiltul al yidei shvarim, if it could only be moved not through a human being, it's too heavy, but it could be moved through oxen, shmei tiltul. That also counts as something that could be moved full or empty, and it'll be tumah. Tanan, we can see this from a Mishnah that we learned in Kalim. Shalosh agolisen. The Mishnah says there are 3 kinds of wagons. Asuya ketedra. It's made like a ketedra, which is basically has seats to sit in it. Tmei and medris. So it's tamei medris because it's made for a person to sit in it. It's designated for that, so therefore it's tamei medris. Kimita, if it's made sort of in the shape of a bed and it's really made to put objects in it to carry from one place to another, it's not made for a person to sit in it. So tmei mace. So it's tamei, the tumah of a mace, but not the tumah of medris, which only applies, as we learned a few times, in a case where it's designated for a person to sit or to use. Shel avonim tahira. If it's a wagon that's used to carry rocks from one place to another, then tahira miklum. It's completely tired because it's too heavy. It's a wooden wagon and it's too heavy. It can't be moved full or empty from one place to another. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? V'im yashba beis kibul rimainim tmeya tmei meis. If it has a beis kibul, if it could receive in it rimainim, so then it is tamei, the tumah of a mace. Meaning, we learned this before already, that if you have something that's not a kli kibble at all, that has holes that are so large that it can't even hold rimainim inside, pomegranates inside, so then it will be totally toher, because it's not a keli. If it's not a keli, it's not makabel tumah even with the tmei mace. But if it is a kli kibble, at least for rimainim, so the holes that it has in it are small enough that rimainim can be contained in it, so then the tumah of a tmei mace does apply. So why is the Gemara bringing this here? As Rashi explains, this is a proof that even something which can be drawn just by oxen is susceptible to tumah, because we're talking over here about a wagon that's pretty heavy. It can't be drawn by a person. It can only be drawn by a shayr, by shvarim, by oxen, and still it's makabel tumah. The Mishnah there continues and says, Shalosh tevais hein. There are 3 kinds of chests. Teva shepischa mitzida, a chest that has an opening on the side. Tmeya medris. So if a zav would sit on top of it, it would become tamei medris, because it's a place that he could sit. If someone wants to take something out of the chest, he can take it out from the side, and he's not going to have to ask the person to stand up and leave. So it's a place that could be designated for sitting. Milmaila, if it has an opening from the top of the chest, so then tmei mace, the tumah of mace will apply to this, but not the tumah of medris, because if a person wants to use it, open it up, the person's going to have to get up. So therefore, it's not designated for the person to sit there. V'haba b'mida tahira miklum. And if it's something that's very, very large and you cannot move it around, so then it's completely tahir, has an opening from the top, and it's very, very large. It can't be moved around. It's completely tahir. It's tahir from the medris, because it's not made to be used by the person sitting on top of it. That's where you open it up on the top. And also it's tahir from tumas mace, because it cannot be moved while it's full, because it's very, very large. It's very, very heavy. Okay, but what we see from here is only something which is very large, b'midah, it's very, very heavy, and it can't be moved, not even by oxen either, then it would be tahir. But if it could be moved, even by oxen that are drawing it, it would be tamei. Going back to the point the Gemara said before, tiltul al yedei shvarim shmei tiltul. Tan Rabbanan, we learned the following braise: medres kli cheres tahir. The medris, in other words, the tumah of medris, which again is a tumah that's a tumah specifically of a zav. that sits on something. So if he's sitting on a kli cheres, this tumah does not apply to a kli cheres. Tahir. As the Gemara will later bring the source for this. Rabbi Yosi says, Af hasfina. A boat is also tahir. So the Gemara asks the question, Mai ka'omar. What's the connection over here? We began talking about a kli cheres, and then we're talking about a boat. And the Tanakama is talking about the kli cheres to say that the kli cheres is the tumah of medris does not apply. He's not even talking about the regular tumah of touching it. He's talking specifically about the tumah of medris, and then he talks about the boat. Regarding the boat, we're not talking about a medris. We're talking about the tumah of touching the boat. As Rashi here says, that the tumah of medris does not apply to a boat. This is a very interesting thing. Rashi says it here, and Tosfos explains it before as well, that the tumah of medris does not apply to a boat. Tosfos says the reason is because we're talking about a boat that's made for delivering packages. It's not made for human beings to sit in it, so it's not designated for a person to sit in it. Other Rishonim say, Tosfos himself says in other places, any boats, even those boats that are made to transport people in it, is still not makabel tumah medris because it's just made to transport people. It's not made a place for them like a couch, a chair, a place for people just to sit and relax on it. And therefore, if the tumah of medris does not apply. So the question over here is, this Braisa begins talking about the medris of a kli cheres, and then it goes over to a sfina, which is a totally different item, and talking about the tumah of maga touching the boat, and not the tumah of medris. So how do we read this braisa? So therefore the Gemara is going to say that you have to amend, you have to add something here to the braisa. My kama. So what's the pshat in the braisa? Omer Rav Zvid said as follows. Hachi kamar. This is how you have to read this braisa. Medris kli cheres toher. The tumah of medris regarding an earthenware keli, it's toher. Does not apply. Umagoi, however, if you touch the kli cheres on the inside, as we know by kli cheres is only if you touch it on the inside, not at the outside, tome, then it will be tome. Usfina shel cheres, and a sfina, a boat made from earthenware, tmeya, will be tome kechananya, like the halacha of that Chananya said. What did Chananya say? If you have a boat made from cheres, it is tame. As we said before, according to Chananya, a boat is only toir because we compare it to a sack, and that only applies to a boat that's made from wood, not a boat that's made from cheres. Then Rabbi Yosi came and said, Afasfina tahira, the boat is also tahir. So the Tanakama spoke about the boat, and Rabbi Yosi is also speaking about the boat. Ketana didon, and Rabbi Yosi is telling us that the boat is tahir, like we learned according to the Tana of our Mishnah. He holds we compare it to Lev Yam, and it's always tahir. All kinds of boats are always tahir. Maskefla Rav Papa asks on this pshat of Rav Zvid, my af. It doesn't explain what the word af is saying. The boat is also tame. Again, Rabbi Yosi comes and says the boat is also tahir. Also tahir in additional to what else? There's nothing that the Tanakama said that is tahir that it would make sense to say that regarding the boat that it's also tahir like something else that the Tanakama said. The Tanakama just said the medris, tumah of medris does not apply to kli cheres. And then he said the boat is tame. Comes Rabbi Yosi and says the boat is also tahir, also in addition to what else? Elam Rav Papa. So therefore Rav Papa switches it around and he says as follows: Hachi ka'omar. This is how you read this braisa. Medris kli cheres tahir. That is the same, like we said before. The medris, the tumah of medris, does not apply to an earthenware keli. It's tahir. Magoi tome. If you touch it on the inside, it is tome. Vishel eitz. A wooden keli, bei medrasai, bei magoi, tome. The tumah of medris, the tumah of touching it, applies to a wooden keli. Sfinas a yarden, the boat that's a small boat that goes into the yarden. Tahira, so the Tanakama is the one that said that it's tahir ketana didon, like our Tana. And Rabbi Yosi says, Af hasfina tmeya kechananya, that the sfina, a boat, will be tame like Chananya said. So when it uses the lashon af, what Rabbi Yosi is saying is just like the Tanakama said that the maga, that the touching of a kli cheres makes it tame. Comes Rabbi Yosi and says a boat as well. If you touch it, it will be tame like the opinion of Chananya. So what Rav Papa did was he switches around the opinions of the Tanakama and Rabbi Yosi. Rav Zvit said that the Tanakama was the one that was machmer to say that a Sfina Shel Cheres would be Tomei. Rabbi Yosi was the one that was lenient to say that the Sfina Shel Cheres will be Toher. So then the word Af was out of place. Rav Papa is saying, no, it's the other way around. The Tanakama is the one that says that the Sfina will be Toher. A Sfina Sayardin, a small boat, will be Toher. And Rabbi Yosi is the one that came and said that it's Tomei, so that's the word after he used. Just like you said that the Maga, the touching of a Cheres, is Tomei, so too by a boat in the Yardin it'll also be Tomei. Rashi over here points out that the whole Arichis and what Rav Papa is talking about, he brings up the Maga Shel Eitz and so on, and the fact that he switches it to the Sfina Sayardin, all this was unnecessary really. The main point is just to switch around the opinions of the Tanakama and Rabbi Yosi, but since most boats are made of eitz, of wood, and not of earthenware, so therefore he brought that in here as well. So now the Gemara is going to ask, what is the source for the tumah of this halacha that we just learned, that there's no tumas medres by kli cheres? We'll continue in Mitzvah Shem this Gemara after Shavuos. Habalas HaTeire b'simcha b'pnimius. Continue Mitzvah Shem later.